Jessyca Lewis. I am located in Seattle, Washington. And Hala, where are you located?
I'm in Portland, Oregon. Not
Yes,
far.
I recently saw a map that said, well, when I'm in Seattle, there's so many people affiliated with people in Portland and Eugene that they said there's kind of this, if you live in Portland, Salem, or Eugene, you can say that you live in Seattle also.
That works for me.
So we're going to talk a little bit today. So I have an entrepreneurship series that I'm doing, and I really enjoy interviewing entrepreneurs because I love hearing what they're doing, and we all help each other out. So hi, everyone. Welcome to my show. I'm your host, Jessyca Lewis, and today I'm thrilled to introduce to you the brand that's all about travel, design, and comfort, Seek and Swoon. And most of us that I interview are also interested in travel, so they'll be really interested. The owner of Seek and Swoon Blanket Company is Jala Smith-Huys, a former graphic designer and social media strategist who launched the business in Portland, Oregon. So we're going to start a little bit by, why don't you tell us about your background and how you started your business?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
So my background, for the most part, is in graphic design. After graphic design career, I ended up kind of falling into social media strategy when it was still new and not really a career. So I was kind of like one of the, I don't know about one of the first people, but I was like an early strategist in the social media genre. So I tapered off graphic design in about 2008. At the same time, I was kind of launching into social media strategy. And there came a point where I knew that wasn't what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I needed to sort of figure out what the next iteration of my career was going to be. And I'd always wanted to launch a brand. I was always drawn to product. And because I had a background in marketing, I thought I had some of the skills necessary to be able to create and launch a small product-based business. So I knew if I was going to do this, I wanted it to really marry all of the things that I was really passionate about. And so I literally sat down one day and wrote a list of the things that I loved, things that were inspiring to me, things that brought me joy. And kind of top of that list was travel. My husband and I love to travel, and we enjoyed traveling before we met. We travel with our kids quite a bit when we can. Sustainability is important to me, supporting local, using sustainable ingredients and sustainable goods whenever possible. So those were kind of like the two pillars, and obviously product. So I'm really drawn to quality home goods products, and that doesn't mean they have to be expensive, but that just means that they're like well made, maybe made by small businesses, by small artisans. So I sort of like brought all these things together and was like, I want to start a home goods brand. But how can I weave these other things in that are important to me? So one day I was actually putting away a baby blanket that my son had grown out of. And as I was storing it, I was like, this is something that I'm actually keeping for the long term. And it has a pattern on it. So there's this design element to it. And so I thought maybe I could design, heirloom throw blankets. But then how could I weave in this other pillar of travel that I really enjoy? And so I was like, well, maybe I could design blankets inspired by the places that I've traveled. And so that's kind of how Seek and Swoon came to be. I just pulled all these things together. And the sustainability piece was important too, because I ended up sourcing a knitting mill that uses recycled cotton. So I was able to gather all of these important elements to me that were important to me and pull them into one brand.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, a lot of entrepreneurs when we're, the question sometimes is how. So for example, how do you find these people that you can work with? So when you have the idea and you're moving forward, how does that unfold? Do you have to do research and then test different things, or how did you do that?
Yeah, so I knew nothing about the textile industry whatsoever. I didn't have any clue where to start. I didn't know anybody in the textile industry, but I knew that there were blankets in the market that were similar to what I envisioned. So I kind of researched those brands. People don't often give away a lot of their sources, which is fine. It was actually kind of fun for me to kind of dig in and be a detective, I guess. But I knew that they were being made in the United States. So I literally Googled. This is before ChatGPT came in and was able to give you like a bunch of information.
Yes, helpful, I think. Okay.
But I literally Googled knitting mills in the United States, and I just started making a list of like 100 mills, and I emailed every single one of them. And most of them were not the right kind of mill. You know, I sent them a photo of what I was wanting to produce. And almost every single one of them told me that they couldn't make that product because it requires a special type of machinery. And I found about 6 knitting mills that had the right type of equipment. And so I started conversations with those mills until I narrowed it down to the one that was able to produce exactly what I wanted. So I work with a small family-owned knitting mill here in the US. And they've been my partner for 9 years.
Excuse me. My microphone needs to be a little closer there. Okay.
So, you know, to answer your question, like I had no clue what I was doing or where to start. I just knew that they were made in the US. There had to have been a manufacturer out there that was making these blankets. And so I just researched until I figured out like what kind of blanket it was, what kind of knitting it was. I found a couple people that were in the knitting industry that were willing to give me a little bit of information and some leads. And so that's eventually what led me to the mill that I'm working with now.
That's great. And so we talked a little bit about this, but you wanted to talk about your European sabbatical, and then you started your business from taking this sabbatical. So sometimes rest and relaxing helps us do our inspiring.
Yes, gives you lots of time to think. Yeah, so in 2016, so my husband and I had both been freelancing at the time. I was freelancing as a graphic designer. He was also like a web designer at the time. And we were both freelancing after having worked for companies. And we had 2 little boys. They were 2.5 and 5 at the time. And we just decided to take a couple months off during summer and go on a big trip. And we were able to do that because we were freelancing. So we just wound down the clients that we had been working with. And we traveled through Europe. I think we were in like 5 different countries over the course of about 8 weeks. And, you know, that was really kind of the trip that inspired me to start. Actually, it was 2015. Sorry, it was 2015 that we took the trip. I started the business in 2016. So I came back from that trip and I was like, I want to do something new. I'm ready to figure out how to pivot my career. And as I was researching the blankets, that's when it sort of hit me that, you know, I've not been to dozens and dozens of places, but I've been to enough and I've seen so many beautiful things. So how can I weave that inspiration into the products that I'm creating? So that's kind of how the trip inspired the blankets.
You know, and I would imagine too, when you're traveling, so like I've been to Brazil a lot, and some of the patterns, so Rio de Janeiro, the historic patterns that are in the concrete by the beach, those kind of things would be really pretty for inspiration. So sustainability is a big part of your brand. What is important for you to make? Why is it important for you to make your products in the United States and use recycled yarn?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as making them in the US, well, first of all, it's much easier to deal with a domestic manufacturer than a manufacturer overseas. I have conversations with them on a weekly basis. If not, I'm emailing them daily. It's really easy to get responses. It doesn't take much time to have my products shipped to my warehouse or shipped to me. So part of it is just like the ease of manufacturing. I also really love supporting another local, I say local, but they're, in a different part of the country, but they're not in Portland. But I'm supporting another family. So the family that works on my blankets it's definitely a family owned company. It's very, very small. There's something that just feels good about supporting a small family business. I'm a small family business. So there's something that feels good about partnering. I really call them my partner and not just my manufacturer. We've become close. I've learned to trust them. I think they appreciate me as a customer, and that's very different than working with a large manufacturer overseas. Yes, there are people that work there that get paid, that sort of thing, but there's something very different about working with a small company. So that's sustainable because it's close, it's nearby, I'm supporting small business. And then the mill that I work with, they work primarily with recycled fibers. So the yarn in my blankets it's approximately 75% recycled cotton and 25% recycled polyester. The fibers come from apparel factory floors. So when your t-shirt is being cut out of a big piece of fabric, the scraps fall to the ground. Those scraps are gathered up. They're collated by color and broken down, and then they're remade into new yarn. And that yarn is the yarn used in my blankets. So it saves on water. It saves on, there's no pollutants. There's no extra dyes. So it really Cuts down on the resources needed to produce the original yarn. We're just putting yarn back into retail, really, rather than having new yarn made. And I think we all know that helps preserve the environment. It helps preserve resources, and it's just good for the planet. So I was able to, partner with this mill that only uses that type of yarn. And I think that I get customers who probably don't come and purchase from me because they know that. But I think once they find that out, it makes them feel much better about their purchase.
You had mentioned to me you have an online store. And so I wondered, have you thought about having a brick and mortar store?
So my blankets are sold in about 100 small retailers across the country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I have
So
them.
they can buy them in the retail stores. Okay.
Right, and there's a link on the bottom of my website so you can see all the stores that carry my blankets. I also recently opened up a small retail space in a place called Urbanite here in Portland. And Urbanite is it's a collection of retailers under one roof. So there's a bunch of antique retailers, and there's apparel and jewelry. And so I have a space in that building. I don't think that my brand is really conducive to having a store on its own. That's probably not something that I'll ever do. But another category of customers that I work with is I have my blankets in a handful of hotels. So there are hotels that I partnered with, and my blankets are on the beds of the hotels as decor. And you can often buy them in the gift shop of the hotel as well.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. It also reminds me of sort of quilting, the family legacy of quilting in the family that's passed through the generations, but the same sort of thing, that you have this lovely blanket that's passed down, and sort of the family community there.
Yeah, I like that connection too, because I think quilts are one of those things that you keep for a very long time. I know I have a quilt that my great grandmother made that was owned by my mom, and now I have it. And I think that kind of speaks to quality. Handmade quilts are like the quality is heirloom. And I feel like even though my throws are made on a machine, I really value the fact that they are very, very well made, and they're something that you can keep for a long period of time. Like if you take care of them well, they should hold up. They're made from material that should hold up over time. You know, I kind of want to go back to talking about my customer for just a second, because
Sure.
in addition to the hotel customers, I also work with companies to do like client and employee gifting. So I work with some real estate agencies that gift my blankets to their customers as closing gifts. So I'm able to produce like bulk orders at a lower price. I can also do custom. So there's like different like I'm not just selling online and in stores. I can also do these like larger projects, which has been a lot of fun actually.
I think that would be fun too. So, okay, let's talk entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So entrepreneurship isn't always as glamorous as it looks. So what are some of the biggest hurdles you faced when starting Seek and Swoon, and how do you overcome them?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think
Like COVID.
that's a good question. And I think, you know, each business has unique hurdles. And I think the hurdles are also independent of like what your skills are. So for me, because I have a background in marketing, some of the marketing pieces came kind of naturally to me. But like the finance piece doesn't come naturally to me. You know, I have an accountant that helps me like keep track of everything and like balances my books, because not only is it not my expertise, like I just don't like dealing with it. But as an entrepreneur, and especially a solopreneur, somebody who works alone, I have to know what's going on in my bank account. Like I have to know where my money is going and how much of it I have, and, you know, when I need to slow down on certain things. So I think kind of figuring out like what your strengths are and tackling those things, but then being able to delegate, if possible, your weaknesses to other people. Like that's kind of an interesting juggling game, I guess. And when you're first starting out, you might not even have the budget to hire things out. Like, you know, I literally started my business with $10,000, and I borrowed that money from my grandmother. So I had $10,000 to get my first batch of blankets, my website up, which I created my entire website on my own. So I was doing everything by myself, and I still mostly do everything by myself. But yeah, I think that is, for a solopreneur, I think that's difficult, figuring out like, what should I spend my time on? What should I delegate to other people? And can I even afford to delegate things to other people? Because we don't often, as a tiny, tiny startup, have money to do that. So I think that is probably the biggest hurdle. I also think finding answers to questions that you don't know the answers to. Like there's so many times that I refer to Facebook groups or other business owners with like, what app did you use for this? Who, like, do you have a photographer that can shoot like this type of photo? Just like gathering up all of those resources is really time consuming. And you have to find like trusted people to help figure out all of those answers. So, and then, you know, whether or not you're like a parent, figuring out how to juggle being a parent and the inconsistencies of income when you're an entrepreneur and owning your own business. You know, my husband works, but I also am a big contributor to the family and have been over the years. So giving up my, you know, giving up my career to freelance, even when I was doing graphic design, was very risky, and raising like a young family and kind of not knowing what your income's going to be, that's really scary. So yeah, I think that, you know, we all have like a different story, and we all have a different experience in terms of like what our finances are and what our skills are coming into starting a business. And we just have to figure out if it's going to work. And I think taking that leap is probably like the scariest thing, because I have had 100 business ideas over the years, and I still come up with them, quite frankly, on like a monthly basis. So trying to decide which one of those to actually take the leap on, that was probably like the hardest and biggest decision for me. Like, is this the one that's going to work? Is this the one that I should really like invest my time and energy in? I think just making that decision to take the leap is probably like the hardest decision. At least it was for me.
I think it's very difficult to be an entrepreneur because I'm like you, it doesn't shut off. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
And so I have a journal, and so every day I just sit and write what's coming out, because I've been an entrepreneur since I was 10. And
Yeah.
so
kind of. Yeah. I always wanted to make my own money.
yeah, there are some of us that just really have that drive, and you just can't give up. So
So tell me what you were doing. Tell me what you were doing at 10.
What was I doing at 10?
Yeah.
So when I was at 10, I started delivering newspapers. So my granddad owned a private newspaper. It would be something like the Eugene Weekly or those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I got on my bicycle and I delivered newspapers. And then I put a little bag together. So I was the neighborhood babysitter. So I put a bag together and I would knock on people's doors and I'd say, and this is my bag that I bring over with the coloring books and the crayons.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
And then I started mowing everyone's lawn. So I was also, very fit.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And did the lawn mowing for the entire neighborhood. But I've been doing this stuff for many years. Okay. So how do you keep your designs and ideas fresh, especially since travel plays such a big role in your inspiration? And one thing I wanted to add to that, your demographic leans itself really heavily to West Coast. So I wanted to find, so for example, your target audience or the people that are purchasing from you, I'm asking too many questions at one time.
No, it's fine.
But are they coming from Portland or the West Coast, or are you branching out to the rest of the United States? But we'll start with how do you keep your designs and ideas fresh? And then you can kind of branch into who are your customers and where do they live?
Yeah. So keeping my ideas fresh is hard when I'm not traveling all the time. When you have, I have a 7th grader and a 10th grader now. So we obviously can't just pick up and go in the middle of the school year. And it's also hard in the summer when there's like sports and, things like that going on. So one of the ways that I have kept designs fresh is I've started collaborating with some other designers. So for instance, I have a Native American collection that was designed in collaboration with a Native American hand knitter. Her name's Jennifer Berg. So we worked together on those patterns. And so that was a very authentic and real way for me to bring another genre of design into my collection. And also by supporting another designer. So she gets a commission from all of my sales from those blankets. I'm launching another collection here in the next couple of weeks with a local interior designer who has like a line of wallpaper and some furniture. He's focused on like New England lodge style, ginghams and, trees and flowers and things like that. So we're launching a collection together here in the next couple of weeks. So, I don't have like a constant flow of ideas coming in. When I do, I just sit down and I, start dabbling in design. And to kind of fill those gaps, I've started working with some other people to kind of mix up the styles a little bit, like Jennifer's style and Max's style. And I work with an illustrator named Destiny. I have a little collection with her as well. Their styles are very different than mine. And I want to attract customers that are interested in lots of different things. So I think that really helps kind of diversify my customer base.
Mm-hmm.
And then to your question about who my customer is, as I look at my data on who my buyers are, I have a lot of buyers in the Portland area. I think they just kind of hear about me through word of mouth and going into the shops locally that carry my blankets. But if you look at the demographics, my sales are happening Portland, Seattle, California, Chicago, New York, kind of these like big metropolitan hubs, actually. And that's nothing that I planned. It just happens to be like where my buyers are. And I don't know that I have an answer for why that's happened. I'm not exactly sure. I do advertise, but I'm not necessarily targeting those particular cities. So my demographic is women between the ages mostly of about like 30 and 50. And they're located in these kind of like metropolitan hubs for the most part.
I think, sometimes when you're as an entrepreneur, things unravel with your business that you don't expect. So, for example, this broadcast is a lot of times primarily European people.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it's not US, it's Europe. So when I'm passed around, it's generally from country to country in Europe.
That's so interesting.
So then then it's like, well, maybe, I need to go over.
There you go.
So it's been an interesting phenomenon. I was in Eugene when this started, and then I moved to Seattle. So now I'm incorporating people from Seattle, which is really fun too. But a lot of the people that I've interviewed thus far have been from Europe.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So a couple of things here. So I wanted to know, what are your new projects you're starting on? And I also wondered if you could show us some of your blankets.
Oh,
Can you open them and show some of your designs?
I can.
And then just sort of tell us what your new projects and plans are coming up, or what your brainstorming is, what you're doing.
Yeah. So I think I just mentioned the new collection with Max Humphrey. He's a local interior designer who's actually nationally known. And so we're launching a collection here in the next couple of weeks, which I don't want to talk too much about because it's somewhat of a surprise, but I've also posted a little bit of peeks on Instagram. So if you want to follow Seek Swoon on Instagram, you might get some previews there. And then sign up for email if you want to hear all about the new things. So that's really the only thing that's launching before the holidays. It's, the holidays are so busy that I don't want new launches to kind of get lost in all of the commotion. So I have a blanket coming out inspired by Florence, Italy. So
nice.
That will be launching at some point. What else? I have a Valentine, well, it's kind of like a Valentine blanket. It's a baby blanket that has hearts on it, and I'm going to launch that in a new colorway. And that's something that I will often do. I'll have a blanket that's particular colors and I'll change the colors up. Actually, I have an example of that. So let's see here. I have a blanket that's inspired by the Moroccan tiles that are kind of those scalloped. It's way up top, so I can't really reach it right now.
Okay.
I've redesigned that in a new color palette, which is kind of more oceany, kind of natural. It looks like this.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You're the first one seeing this.
Oh, beautiful. Well, me and whoever else might be watching. Yeah.
Yeah. So the original is, like turquoise and teal and kind of like brighter blues. And this one is just like a softer palette. So I'll probably launch this one after the holidays. Yeah. So those are new blankets. I've dabbled a little bit in other products. Like one year I tried launching what I called the Wanderlust collection, and it had like a candle and it had all of these travel inspired items, and they sold, but like not very well. So sometimes I experiment with other things. I have a blanket ladder that I sell that also is it just kind of did okay. So I'm, going to I'm going to stop selling that because it just like doesn't really fly off the shelf. So I try other things, but sometimes I think you just stick with like what you do best. And I think if people come to the website and they see that this is what I do and they're really high quality and they're super cozy and they're a really great weight and they're made in the US and they support, you know, small business, then like that's what I need to focus on, and that works for me.
So how do people find you? So if they want to see your patterns or what's going on, how would they find you on social media? Or if they want to do any freelance social media or anything like that, how does someone find you?
Okay, so Instagram, Seek and Swoon. So SeekAndSwoon is my Instagram handle. I also have a Facebook page. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok. I'm sort of ticking and talking, but I'm dabbling in it just a little bit, but I would say mostly on Instagram. And then obviously the website is seekandswoon.com and all of everything is live there. So yeah, that's my online profile.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate talking to you today from our 2 Pacific Northwest locations.
Yes, I really appreciate it.
Yes, and I enjoy sharing your story, and it's really inspiring to see how you're adding everything together and you're adding new things. And I am going to be showing this. So I have a live broadcast that usually is every Friday, and I also post. So I post on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And so I'll be posting this for people to see as well. And then I would love to have some photos of your blankets and things to show on my variety of pages. And I'd love to do that. So thank you so much. I appreciate having you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. And it was really nice to connect with you again.
It was nice to connect with you too. All right. I'm just going to close the show here real quick. And thank you so much.